Hi guys, today we're going to be going over Blocked Billboard. So there's a lot of unnecessary information in this problem, but all you need to know is that Bessie really likes looking at these two billboards that are advertising crops. And there's this truck that's advertising steaks. And obviously, Bessie doesn't want to see that. And this truck actually might be obscuring some of the billboards. I say might because the problem states that the truck will obscure neither one or both of the billboards, right? So the truck might be covering some of the billboards, and all we need to find is the area of the billboards that is still visible even after the truck is blocking it, right? So our input format comes in this format, which is x1, y1, and x2, y2. So in this format, x1, y1 is the lower left-hand coordinates of a rectangle, and x2, y2 is the upper right-hand coordinates of the rectangle. So all these billboards and the truck are given as rectangles, and the lower left-hand corner here and the upper right-hand corner here correspond to billboard A, and this is billboard B, and then finally this is the truck. So they're all in the x1, y1, x2, y2 format, right? And we get a visible area of 17. And obviously this is like near impossible to do just in your head, so I'm going to graph it out for you guys. So as you guys can see, I have the billboards and the truck here. So billboard A is in red and billboard B is in blue, and the truck is in green. So billboard A and the truck clearly have an overlap, as you guys can see. It's going to be this one square right here. So let's try to find that overlap. And to do so, we have to use a formula, which is going to be math.min of the top right minus math.max of the lower left. And this formula works for the x overlap and the y overlap, right? So let's do the x overlap first, right? So math.min of the x's minus math.max of the math.max of the x's here. So that's going to be we're finding the math.min here, so it's going to be 3 because 3 is less than 8. And we're finding the max here, so 2 because 2 is greater than 1. And we subtract those, so it's 3 minus 2, which gives us 1. And now to do that for the y coordinates, we have to find the minimum and over here, and 3 is less than 5, so that's the minimum. And 2 is greater than 1, so that's the maximum here. So it's 3 minus 2 gives us 1. So it's 1 times 1 will give us 1 unit of overlap here, right? And then we can do the same thing for the other billboard. And so we have a overlap of 4 squares here. And in order to find that, we can just do this. And so we'll have to find the minimum of the x coordinates first on the top right. So 8 is less than 10, so we use 8, and then 6 is greater than 2, and so we use 6. So it would be 8 minus 6, which is 2. So we have 2 x units of overlap, and we do the same thing for the y. Um, for the y, we have basically 4 and 3, and we need to find the minimum here. So we're going to use 3, and we need to find the maximum here. So 1 and 0, 1 is greater than 0. So we do 3 minus 1, which is 2 units of y overlap. So 2 units of x overlap and 2 units of y overlap make an area of 4. And so there are 4 units of overlap. And basically the method to calculating how much is visible is to calculate the area of both the A and the B billboard and just subtract the overlap, the area of the overlap. So here we have 6 and we had 1 unit, so 6 minus 1 is 5. And here we have 4 squares and another 4 squares. So that's 16 minus 4, which is 12, right? So 12 plus 5 gives us 17 units that are still visible. And now we can move on to the programming section. So as you guys can see, I already have a few things written out. I have a lot of static variables, right, which I'll get to. But first we have the buffered reader in and the print writer out, which help us read and write to these files. And then we have the initialize method, which will initialize our variables in. And we have the solve method, which will actually solve our problem in. And then we close the in and the out. So basically these static variables, we have ax1, ax2, ay1, ay2, bx1, bx2, by1, by2, tx1, tx2, ty1, ty2. And basically the a's are going to be the coordinates of the billboard A. So this is going to be the lower left and upper right of billboard A. Same thing for B, and same thing for the truck, right? Lower left of the truck, upper right of the truck. Lower left of B, upper right of B. So let's go ahead and set those up first. So I'm going to take them in using a string tokenizer. And it's going to be in.readLine. And I'll do ax1 equals integer dot value of st.next token to take in the first variable. And since they're given in lines, right, everything for A is given. So it's going to be given in the order of ax1, ax2, ay2. And we just need to do this 3 times over. So we do this for B, and we do this for the truck. And we'll just replace the letter here, and the letter here as well for truck. And just like that, we have all of our variables set up. And as for the solve method, we're actually going to be using a helper method today. So basically this helper method will help us find the overlap between two variables, or sorry, two rectangles. So we're going to call this overlap, and it's going to return an int for us, right? And we need quite a few variables into that. So we need ax1, ay1, ax2, ay2, and we need a b. Now, this isn't necessarily saying that we're using the billboards A and B, although we will be running it with those billboards. It's just saying that to find the overlap between any two rectangles, we're going to be referring to those rectangles as A and B. Okay. So, oh yeah, I meant B here, but so now that we have this set up, what we can do is we can find the X and the Y overlap just like we did. So int X overlap equals, and then we'll do math dot min, or sorry, math dot max. And the reason why I'm going to use two math dot maxes, and I'm going to put 0 in the first one. Now the reason why I put math dot max of 0 and then the overlap is because sometimes there will be no overlap at all. And when this happens, it'll give you a negative answer. And obviously negative answers are going to mess up our code. So instead, we're going to output 0 because 0 means that there is no overlap. Okay. But in order to calculate the overlap, assuming that there is overlap, we're going to be using the formula we talked about. So math.min of ax2 and bx2, right, minus math.max of ax1 and bx1. Okay, so remember, this will take the smaller one of the it's going to take the smaller of the second or the top right x coordinates, and it's going to take the bigger of the lower left hand coordinates, and it's going to find the how many x units overlap. And we can do the same thing for y. Just name it y overlap and have the exact same thing, but replacing everything with y because, like I said earlier, the formula is the same for x and y. And then finally, we're just going to return x overlap times y overlap because the overlap is going to be a rectangle in and of itself. So we need to return the area of the rectangle. Because remember, in order to find our answer, we have to add up the areas of the billboards and then subtract by the overlap. And that's what I mean by like messing up our code, right? If we have a negative, we can subtract, we usually subtract by the overlap, and if we subtract a negative number, it adds, right? It just makes our code worse, which is why we need to have this 0. So for our solve method, we realistically only need one line. It's going to be just a print line and having our answer in here. But like I said, let's first calculate the area of the two squares. So it's going to be ax2 minus ax1 times ay2 minus ay1 plus bx2 minus bx1 times by2 minus by1. This is going to find us the areas of the squares, or sorry, the rectangle billboards. And then we subtract by the overlaps. So minus overlap, and then we need to find the overlap between billboard A and the truck first. So it's going to be AX1, AY1, AX2, AY2, and then we're going to give the truck, so TX1, TX2, sorry, TY1, TY1, that's in that order, and then TX2, TY2. Okay, and so that's going to find us the overlap between billboard A and the truck. And we need to do the same for B. So we need to find the overlap between B and the truck. And basically, this is all we really needed to do. So yeah, we're just finding the areas of the two billboards, subtracting by the overlap between the truck and billboard A and the truck and billboard B. We're finding the overlap using this method. And yeah, now we can go ahead and submit. And so we've passed all the test cases, right, with our code. So that's Blocked Billboard. If you guys have any questions about this problem or want me to go over a specific problem, please let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.